welcome to episode number 7 of the Mad About You podcast. My name is Madeline and I'll be your host for today. If you are a returning viewer, thank you very much for coming back, and if you are a new viewer, I hope you find something that you like. This is typically a knitting mostly podcast, however I've got some crochet to show today, so I'm in some of my crochet makes. So a bit of things to talk about, so some newly finished objects, some new cast-ons, some updates on my radiate jumper, and yeah, that's all really. I'm not where I usually record, and I brought all my stuff with the exception of my tripod and my microphone, so I'm really sorry if you can't hear me as well as usual. I had a mind blank when I packed my bag to come and visit my husband for the weekend. So anyway, that was my silliness, and hopefully this works okay, and if not, you probably won't see it and I will re-record. Finished objects. I finished something this morning that I'm really excited about, and I hope that you'll share my excitement also. For the first time on this channel, it is a crochet finished object, and it's from this book here, which is the Edward's Menagerie by Kerry Lord. And the book has over 40 soft and snuggly toy, animal and crochet patterns. And the finished object I have to show you today is Hoida the polar bear. So obviously anyone who's seen a polar bear before knows that they're typically white. However, I was going to make the bunny, and the baby that I made this for is actually a boy, and I thought, okay, maybe not the bunny then. This is him here. I finished him this morning, and he's my first ever crochet animal. He's got a cute little tail, and he sits pretty well independently, so that's him there. So the pattern was really easy to follow. There's lots of techniques in the book, so I'm definitely going to be making a few more of these. Here's my little guinea pig, I guess. But yeah, it doesn't really look like a polar bear, probably mostly because it's grey. But the yarn I used, which I don't think I have the tag, is a Morris & Sons Estate in the 12 ply. So this, the book's really good, so you can make them in a variety of sizes. So this was the second largest size, and I just made it with how I liked the crochet hook and the fabric that I made, and I started him on Tuesday and it's Sunday morning today, so less than a week. And I did a bit of knitting on a few other things during the time, so yeah, not a bad first effort. He is a little bit wonky. He's got a nice big tummy, but I sewed his head on a little bit crooked last night, but I did such a good job of sewing in the ends I couldn't find it to unpick it. So I was really disappointed in that, but I think he's not so bad, and he does sit up like he's supposed to. So this is for a special little boy in my life who's he is born early and his due date is in a couple of weeks' time, so it's a little due date present. I'm really excited for him to get it. So highly recommend this book if you're into amigurumi, I think is how you say it. Or even just little toys. So I've previously knitted some little stuffies, and yeah, that took me maybe a month, and this one took me less than a week. So little cutie. I'm really happy with it. That's the only finished object I have to show you. I guess I could talk about this here, which was the granny stripe shawl, I think it's called, and I'll pop the details on the screen because I crocheted it a couple of years ago and I don't really remember, but it's on my Ravelry page, so if you are interested you can definitely check that out on Ravelry. So I was actually gifted some of this pink yarn from my mother-in-law, and then I had some of these other ones, so it's a mixture of Cleckheaton, I think this one here is a Drops alpaca, and then I'm not really sure what this was, but it was 100% either Australian or New Zealand wool. So yeah, I really like it. It's nice, bulky, and I think I'd made it a bit shorter because I was alternating that pink colour, so it's supposed to be a little bit more full. It's definitely got that woolly, toothy feeling, so I don't wear it all the time. yeah, it was a fun crochet, and I don't believe it took very long either, so that's another win in my books. Time for work in progress. So I've shown a couple of times recently my Radiate Pullover by Joji Locatelli, and I'll just find the back. Yeah. So I haven't really made that much progress since the last time you would have seen it, but getting down the stockinette on the body, still alternating skeins, and from the back here there were some short rows, so it's actually a bit longer in the back. And the wool I'm using for this is We Love Knitting, and it's a merino, 100% merino 8-ply DK weight in mint and marble. So yeah, and I'm keeping that one in my Fringe Field Supply bag with a few different pins now that I've added on, but I think I've shown you most of those last time, so that's fun. So yeah, it's a long-term project. I'm already looking at other Caitlin Hunter patterns, so like I've said before, I've got the yarn for either the Sipala or the Spike. I haven't decided, and also I really want to make the Tecumseh. So I've got a couple of Australian wool producers in mind that I want to use their wool for this. I just haven't decided which ones, and also I'm planning a trip down that way towards the end of the year, so I'm thinking maybe I should hold off buying it and actually go to the farm and buy it from the farm. So I don't know where we'll go, but I need to work on this one as well. My next cast on that I've got is, and I mean cast on, it's a brand new cast on, the Cobalt Cat by Caitlin Hunter. Oh, that's not good with that light. There we go, Cobalt Hat. And the wool I'm using I have shown before, I believe, when I thought it was going to be for this. So it's Natural Fibre Arts. I thought I packed the tags because I knew I would be doing this. Maybe not. My Finch bucket tote is enormous, and I thought that's where I put it, but maybe not. Anyway, and it's also a merino, mohair, and that was Debbie Bliss, so that came from the UK. So I skeined them together, so I can't even zoom in because it'll blow out anyway, but I wound them both together, so the mohair and the normal DK are together in this ball. And I cast on for the extra large size, but I measured my head and I looked at the unstretched measurements, and I think I actually need to knit the adult small medium size, so I've got to pull it out and start again, so that's all I've got. But I'm really liking how the two colours work together. They're always slightly different. The mohair was a bit more of an emerald colour, and the other one is called eucalyptus. And I'm knitting this on my Knit Pro or Knitter's Pride Platina 16-inch circular set. So cast on in a 3.5, and then you move up a bigger needle size. So I don't usually knit beanies on an 8-ply with such a small needle, so I'm thinking that it might actually be okay, but I haven't done the maths yet, so maths. Before I rip it out, I'm going to remeasure my head, measure what I've got so far, and see how we go. I really don't want to have to pull it out and start again, because the rib is a 1x1 pearl and a knit thread buck loop, plus there's the mohair and the 8-ply, and I'm enjoying it, but it's a bit challenging for the old brain, so yeah. And then I thought I had another something to show you, but I haven't made any progress on my snow socks because we didn't go to the snow. So it's my last season, I think I've had my last day at the snow, so I'm pretty happy that I made it maybe halfway down a leg on these ones. So I might finish those off, I'm not sure, but 2 at a time, 3 mums yarn, in a contrasting, or it's a 10 gram mini skein for the cuffs, and then it's a self-striping that I really like for the actual leg that I've chosen. So I haven't decided how I'm going to go about finishing those yet. I think it'll be a long time before I get to the snow again, so it's probably worth finishing. So I'll add those to my little finish pile. Yeah, so that's all I'm working on at the moment. That Kobook hat was a really recent cast on. But talking of hats, one of my cousins has actually just moved over to the UK. It's her birthday coming up, and I don't always do presents, but I thought she's been a bit homesick lately, so it might be nice to make her something and send that over. So Skein Sisters on my local yarn store were having a sale pretty recently. I don't remember why they had a sale, but they did. It was 20% off. And so I bought this Skein of Hedgehog fibres. So ooh, it's pretty accurate. The colourway is called Beach Bunny, which I thought was really fitting because where we come from is quite close to the beach. And yeah, it's a merino DK, 115 grams, merino wool. It's machine washable, so I imagine that it's super wash. So I've been looking at different hat patterns, and I'm thinking about the violet waffles, which I have made before. And then there's also another pattern that I've got in my pattern library on Ravelry that might be good for that one too. It's a cabled hat, so yeah, I'm not sure. And then I also thought, oh, I could do the brioche pussycat hat by Sosu of Sosu Knits, but I don't know that I want to brioche a hat. That's not for me, because brioche takes time and I'm selfish. Actually, on that thought, I don't know that I like the word selfish, as in selfish knitter, which I do say a lot. But if we think about it, is it really selfish? Like, yes, I like to knit for myself, but it's me doing the craft. So, I don't know how I feel about that. I've been thinking about things quite a lot lately, sort of in the fibre world, and how we say things, and are we creative or are we yeah, I don't know. I like when people say, oh, you know, you're clever. My mum says I'm clever. You know, with knitting stuff, because I'm really just following a pattern. And you know, when people say to you, oh, well, you're not, oh, you're so creative, or you're so whatever for knitting. I'm like, well, knitting's not actually that hard. You just have to want to learn, I guess. I don't know, like, anyway, that's, I guess, a nice segue, since I have nothing else to share of actual finished projects. Yeah, so I guess if we talk about acquisitions now, which I kind of said last time, I'm not super keen on the acquisitions thing, but yeah, so I recently, as in this week, subscribed to a magazine, a digital magazine called Yarnology, and it is by an Australian, well, it's been produced in Australia. It's a digital magazine, and it's Say Little Hen who has put it together, and I just want to bring it up. So it's actually saved on my iPad, which I'm recording this on, which I don't usually do, but I just want to make sure I'm telling you the right information. Yeah, so Yarnology Mag, and a new Australian-based quarterly digital magazine inspiring knitters and crocheters, and the issue 1 launched yesterday. So I downloaded that one to my iPad and I had a bit of a read, and there were some really interesting articles in there that were thought-provoking. One of them is that whole creative, I think it links to an article which I read about creative versus like crafty and whatnot. So I think I want to delve into that myself a little bit more, and see how I feel about it. Yeah, but anyway, magazine. So yeah, like I said, quarterly magazine, and yeah, it was really nice. I really enjoyed it. It yeah, it talks about different things in Australia, like wool gathering and other events that are happening. It had some really interesting stories from some farmers, which if I was more prepared, I'd actually have ready and be able to name them for you, but I can't, and I only just followed, oh, yeah, I just followed them on Instagram, so I can't actually remember what it was, but I'll talk about it next episode once I've actually done some more delving. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was about 45 pages, I think. There's a lot of photos, some pattern suggestions, and then yeah, links to those articles which were a bit thought-provoking, which I really liked. One about knitting and maths as well, about how somewhere I think in the States they're teaching maths, or like advanced maths at a college through knitting and a few other things. So yeah, I guess I was never really great at maths at school, and I never thought, I was always like, well, how's maths going to apply to real life? And it always applies, like, you know, basic maths about budgeting and bank accounts and interest and loans and whatnot. But yeah, I never thought that my craft would be so mathsy, but it is. So anyway, that's yeah, that's interesting. So yeah, I really thought I had more to talk about, but I don't really. I haven't prepared. Oh, actually, one more. I do have another finished object, but it's been gifted, so I'll insert a picture now or something at some point. And so it's Father's Day today in Australia, and I made my dad a beanie. So he's a Richmond Tigers fan, and and so am I. So that's Australian Football League, AFL. And yeah, so we won the premiership last year, which was the first time in 37 years that we had won a premiership, so that was awesome. Anyway, so it's Father's Day. My dad's really hard to buy for, doesn't need a lot, doesn't want a lot. You give him gift vouchers, you can't always guarantee that he'll spend them before they expire, and I've bought him a lot of books recently, so I thought I'll knit something. And I've been promising a pair of socks, and I just haven't got to it because I've mentioned several times I don't really like knitting men's socks. So I knit him a beanie, and I used Knit Picks wool of the Andes in a worsted weight, and essentially I designed the beanie. And by what I mean is I just made it up, and yeah, it was my first introduction, I guess, to designing. It's a beanie, it's pretty standard, and by designing I mean I had to write a chart. So, oh, the light's just gone funny. Anyway, looks like I've put a filter on. No filter, it's just a light. So, and okay. So many Madeline. Okay, so Richmond Tigers Football Club. So essentially what I did is I wrote a chart, and I knit the rib in black. Oh, the colours are yellow and black. So I knit the rib in black, and then I knit maybe like 2 inches of black, like feather black, so that he can roll up the brim. So it's got quite a long brim, and I've also forgot to change down a needle size after I did the ribbing. Or I did the ribbing in the size of needle I wanted to knit the hat in. It's a bit of a disaster, but it worked out okay. And then I charted tigers, so with yellow as the background and the letters in black. And if you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen me doing that, and I guess now it's been gifted, I can actually publish some of the finished photos, which is awesome. Yeah, so I posted it early this week. It got gifted today. My dad loves it. It fits, which is good, because I had to shrink it in the dryer a little bit after I washed and blocked it, because I knit it on such large needles and it was super wash, so I could do that. And I think that worked, so that was good. He said it fits. It's nice and snug and really warm, which is, I mean, not really useful where they live. It's quite warm. It's quite hot, but the football season kind of happens March to September, which is our autumn, winter, into spring. So yeah, hopefully that'll be good for him when he goes to the football next. Yeah, so I don't really have much else. I think I sort of spoke about last time, I'm really interested in finding out more about my local yarn industry in Australia, how things are milled and produced, and knitting with local yarn. So I'm planning a Christmas trip, and Christmas is our summer, so we have our big holiday much like the States have theirs in June, July-ish, Aussie's kind of December, January. So I've got a month off work, and my husband and I are going to go on a road trip, so we're going to go drive up north, see both our families, and then drive down south and go to some yarn mills in Victoria. So yeah, I'm really excited, and hopefully I'll do some vlogging around that time, possibly, or put together a podcast of, you know, the footage that I've collected when we do that. So it is quite a way away, and I've got a lot of work on between now and then, so my episodes might be a little bit more infrequent, and I probably will be short because I don't know that I'll have a lot of time to create, to knit really, to have the content, but hopefully I'll find some time, which would be good. Yeah, and I guess so normally we wrap up with some of my favourite things, or kind of just to chat about what's been going on. So yeah, I've seen my husband a couple of times this last month, which has been awesome. So we've alternated who goes where for the weekend, so that's been really lovely. And then I'm going to be away a lot for work coming up as of kind of in 2 weeks' time. So not so fun, but it is what it is. I enjoy my job, and that's just one of the things that have to happen. So I've been practicing a lot of mindfulness and meditation recently, which I think is actually really helping me in my job, and just live a happier life in general. And I did get that mindfulness in knitting book, which I did talk about a couple of episodes ago. So yeah, I think knitting is definitely a form of meditation for me. It's a de-stress, which has been good, and I usually knit and do something else, like watch or listen to a TV show or a podcast or whatnot, and I've been really trying to be conscious when I'm knitting, say to de-stress or after work, for a period of time, and it's just me and the needles and the yarn or the wool, because it's such a dexterous hobby and tactile, and I realised I try to fit too much stuff in, so knitting and watching and catching up on other people's podcasts or listening to podcasts or whatnot. That piece of hair's really annoying me. And yeah, I'm trying to be more present in my knitting, so that's my little handy, well maybe not handy, but something to take away with you if you have watched this, maybe even for 5 or 10 minutes, if you are someone who usually, like me, does so many other things whilst you craft. Maybe try and be a little bit more mindful and in the moment, and enjoy the tactileness of the yarn craft that we do, or even for crochet. Actually, I've had to be very mindful when I've been crocheting my little polar bear, because whilst it was like picking up my hook was like an old friend, I did have to concentrate in a way that I used to when I first started knitting. Now I had to go back and follow the pattern like I did with crochet, so it was all interesting. But anyway, that's all from me. Hopefully this will get edited and put up on YouTube pretty quickly. Thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate you coming back, and if you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to pop them in the comments below. My show notes will be down there as well, just with links to things I've talked about. And yeah, if you want to follow me online, I'm Mad About You on Instagram, and also Madbell on Ravelry, and I've got pretty good project notes on any of the projects that I've made if anything interests you. So thanks so much for sticking with me. I hope to see you next time. Have a lovely week or two, and keep knitting. Bye.